Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast.
Jerry and I, she knew and had experienced some of the stuff, you know, the verbal and the physical that he and I, you know, were butting heads. And I remember one time she and I got into it. I don't recall what it was about, but I do recall what she said, which hurt me to my core. Mm-hmm. We lived on Brown, 1416 East Brown, and we were going at it. And she looked at me. We were in this heated exchange. And she said to me, "You're acting just like Willie." And it hurt me to my core because I vowed. I'm sorry?
So maybe that's where I get that from.
Yeah.
Well, I be arguing with people. Yeah, I'm going to say something to make you want to put your hands on me so we can box for real.
But that's not okay.
And so, but it didn't fuel me to throttle up. It made me just shut down.
Shut in.
I was just like, I vowed never to be what I was becoming. Mm. I vowed never to be what I was becoming because I had seen it. I had seen him physically abuse my mom. He and I had altercations. And so when I left June 7th, 1989, I didn't come back. I graduated June 5th, 1989. I packed my car. High school. I packed my car June 6th, the morning.
That's when you left Decatur and moved to Springfield.
I was up.
I was up. That was a real thing for him. Like when people know dates, times, places.
Specific.
I remember my mom and my sisters standing in the driveway crying, and I'm like, I can't do this. I'm out.
Well, and because you were not just you were a young adult, but you were a man at that point.
Yeah.
And you were able to make your own decision. And thank God that, because some people don't make it out. It winds up where one family member ends up killing another family member in the middle of, physical abuse, or kids killing the dad.
It would have been
when they're watching their mother get abused. This is real stuff. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So thank God that you made up in your mind that that's your decision to stay, but I got to go, you know.
But they were younger than him. So.
No, his mom.
Oh. Yeah.
And then some years later, she was able to make a decision that she wanted something different. Mm-hmm. And I was that catalyst, was able to help make that happen. We did. And his last few years of life, he lived alone.
Made amends?
Well, we made amends right before he passed away. Right before he passed away. And at his funeral, I was distraught because we had made it right, and I understood how he thought, as best as I could, and I understood what he was after. Mm-hmm. He was trying to take care of us the best that he knew how, and I think we've talked about this in different settings. He gave me what he could.
With what he had.
But see,
that's a generational curse situation, though.
Well, and it's like this is why we're talking about it, right? Because think about run a scenario. Had you had additional time, had you had opportunity to sit down and engage and just this is therapeutic and healthy conversation, right? And so typically, I would say from everything all of us have experienced and people that we know, there was a root of something that he had experienced. We knew he was in the military, so Lord knows there's a lot of, in war.
He was in Vietnam.
He was in Vietnam. Yep. And so, yes, the PTSD, the trauma, the violence he had seen, but also then you got to wonder, well, we know that growing up in his mom's household, that was a blended family situation.
Yep.
And there was a lot of unhealthy behaviors that occurred on a very regular basis. And when you take all of that together, and when you look at the root, so y'all, you got to unpack and get to the root.
But
because talking to Aunt Renee and talking to TT Renee, just the verbal abuse that they endured, and
in itself, outside of the physical abuse.
Exactly. And what was considered
so something I learned
okay and not a big deal. Like, where like when she explained to me some of the things that she was said to her, like, oh my God.
But that's how it was for you and your dad, and how your dad grew up, and how he grew up, and his mama, and then he just chose what he chose because that. But something I watched on the TikTok, now that it's back, before it got banned. This girl came on the screen. She was doing her makeup. She was like, and then I realized you can't break generational curses if you're still trying to get approval from the generation that's cursed. And then she was like, yeah. And then the video went off. And I was like,
So to that point, we've kind of talked about that, not in that very cute illustration, but.
Now that's a deep illustration.
No, it is.
But like we simple, straight to the point, because you can sit and meditate on that
No, think about this. We have said this before. Why we don't deal, I shouldn't say deal, why
we make a choice on who we interact with regularly,
who we interact with, because they have
different mindsets.
They still believe that the generational curse is the norm, and it's not. There was a time in my life where I was doing illicit things, and I was revered as, oh man, that cousin right there, blue, this and that. When I was a part of the problem, I was repeating what I had been taught. That's the cycle. And we have so many people. So 2 points I want to make. One is we have so many people in our families that are repeating things, that are okay with being out in the street, selling drugs, whatever it is they're doing, and fleecing the system, being on, public assistance. And let me be clear. I was on public assistance when it was just you and I. You and myself and your brothers. So I'm not saying
you use it for how you need it, but then
use
it as a hand.
It's a stepping stone. It's not a way of life.
Not a permanent.
And I understand that there's some scenarios where there is no way out, and so this is your only means. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you have an opportunity to do something different, you should take it.
Better and take care of yourself. Yeah.
The other thing is, when you are a blended family, and when you are a traditional family, some of the things that we talk about are not specific to blended, but they are
specific to
families.
To families, period.
Yeah.
Because when you have a bio parents, they have some of the same issues that blended families have that don't get unpacked. And some of that baggage comes from generational curses.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't dealt with whatever your dad has been molested, or your mom has been molested, and so now how they treat their children, they're extremely guarded with them because they won't allow them out or in certain settings because it reminds them of what they went through. It's the same when I used to coach. Some parents, because they didn't go to the NFL or NBA or become a major league soccer,
crazy to their kids.
They live vicariously through those children, trying to push them into become who they weren't. And so it's the same with blended families. We're trying to either push into what we've experienced or get away from what we experienced. And mom says this all the time: the pendulum swung too much to the left, too much to the right.
Stay right there. So let's go back to the compensating, avoiding certain behaviors, and creating specific parenting values. So you feel like you overcompensated with Eric, Dom, and I. Mm-hmm. Boom, Jaylen comes in. Mm-hmm. Right? So do you feel like you were trying to, because again, Jaylen lived in a house where it was just him and his mama. I've been running thing around here since I was 15 years old. This is my house. This is my daddy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And your pendulum was over here, like, you got to stay in this box that I created for you, because if you get out this box, it's a disrespect to me, basically. Mm-hmm. Then here you have Jaylen with a single mom. She trying to figure her life and herself out. My daddy not here. So then, of course, you guys have that power struggle. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like, as you guys were having that power, like, did that make you feel bad that you were having that power struggle?
It did.
Because you did you feel like you were trying to, in a sense, create specific parenting values or whatever in him?
So one of the things that I've had to come to grips with, even before any of this
What is
began,
any of this?
the whole podcast thing,
Okay.
years ago, I took an introspective look. And recently we talked about why I was doing what I was doing. And I said, because I was trying to catch him up, because I felt like he was behind of where I needed him to be as far as a young man is concerned. But years before that, I realized that I was repeating again what I saw.
Which was Willie.
Yep.
Okay.
Physical aggression.
And how he ain't got to do me like that. But how so watch this. How he handled me and how he handled my mom and me. Because I realized that my mom and I are
Had a great
mom
bond.
and Jaylen.
Right. Right.
And because all we had was each other until TT Kim came along.
Right.
I played Uno with her. We played. Nope. TT Kim is the
TT Shayla's the
Yeah.
middle child, like me.
So I played a lot of Uno with her. We played Cowboys and Indians. She was my buddy. And so in his mind, it was the same power struggle that Jaylen and I had, because he felt like she gave more credence to me and what I needed, what I wanted, opposed to him. And so I was the black sheep.
When did you come to that realization? When did you come to that like mental process of like, dang, like
I'm
this is
repeating the
crazy.
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at Buckhorn when I had this realization. And so then I
In
had,
his older Buckhorn years, like when
Yeah.
he done left, or like
yeah, because then I had to try to figure out how to repair this bridge, or how do I reverse, this? And again, I can tell you that it was not conscious. I can tell you that, again, when I woke up, when the scales were removed from my eyes, I'm like, how did I miss this? How did I not see the road that I was going down? How did I not see that it was not a new road that I was building, but it was there was a phrase called dog tracking, where you're driving in the rut that was in front of you. I was going back down a familiar lane. And so it shocked me that I was there.
So do you feel like, child, my mind racing. So do you feel like, boom, well, two things. Did you ever have a conversation with him about that? Like your, I guess, sorrow or understanding or what may have you. But two, how has that affected where you guys are now? Because, yeah, y'all love each other. Yeah, that's your dad, that's your son, all of that. But it's still not, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that it has to be like super tight knit, but do you feel like he's still, or I don't know how to ask the question.
So I think, and maybe I understand your question, maybe I don't, but I think that regardless of bio or bonus, as we grow, as our children grow, they have a different perspective of how life should have been or could be. And so regardless of, here's a prime example. You and I don't always agree on things that you do or how you operate. Correct?
Yeah.
And as you say, we're butt buddies. And it's the same with him. He may not agree and I may not agree, and we understand each other. And we've had this conversation, regardless of what mom thinks. We've had these conversations. And there have been times when we've tried to peel the onion and it's got too much juice, and so we walk away from it. And there have been times when we can peel the onion. And as a man speaking to another man, sometimes you don't want to be that vulnerable. But there have been times, when the truth serum is there, when he is that vulnerable.
But I feel like what you were trying to ask, let me see if I can restate it maybe. Because I think, one, I felt what I heard was that you were trying to ask, did you ever just outright admit that to Jayla and apologize for it, which can bring a different level of healing? Because sometimes
Yes,
you
I
just
have.
have to
Yes, I have.
go, okay, I'm not 8 banana nuts. Like, right? Like just hearing someone after X amount of time of them, of someone going, no, that's not what it is. No, that's not what it is. And then having some, like I have had to say to Jalen, and again, if you're watching for the first time, Jalen was my firstborn. I was a single mom. He's Ty is his bonus dad, but raised him since he was 8 in the house.
7 3/4.
And but being vulnerable, still at the end of the day, even when kids get grown, the parents are still the older adult. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes we just have extreme unrealistic expectations for our adult children to do better than us when we still have to process and deal with our own stuff too.
That's that, Mug still trying to seek, approval from a generation that's still cursed.
That one, right?
But
and so
sometimes, like in a situation with Dad, he had to get on before his mom's wool got pulled from her eyes. Like, okay, yeah, maybe I do need, like, okay,
yeah, but that's not what. But what I'm
having
saying,
relationship. That's what I'm saying. Like having relationships with your parents. I mean, conversations with your parents. Sometimes the kid do have to bring it up and start it simply because of the fact
agreed. I'm saying what we are hoping to encourage, absolutely. And if in your heart, if your child is sitting there bringing up a sensitive, uncomfortable, hurtful conversation, to your point, trying to peel back an onion that is still very juicy and burning your eyes like a mug.
I hear what you're saying.
Right?
You got to be emotionally mature enough as the adult.
Yeah, and you have a choice, man. No matter how bad it hurts. In my opinion, the most important thing, if I don't do anything else, I'm gonna make it without.
Suck it up. Hold your head back.
If I don't do if I don't do anything else, and I mean this with everything in me, I just need to be able to know that when I leave this earth, I've done all that I can to leave my children in a better position than I had, or to do all that I could to be there and be there for you all and be what I was supposed to be for you all as a mom.
I think that can be very dangerous. I think that can be dangerous.
I was gonna say, I feel like you being there 100% for your whatever. Mom, it's okay. We'll be there 100% for your 100%, kids.
She was trying to see that.
Huh?
She was trying to get that napkin because it's bothering her.
And don't nobody see it.
Right.
Anyway, but
no, listen to what I'm saying. But let me finish what what I'm talking about though is that even though it is hard to admit you're wrong for a lot of people, that may be it, particularly as a parent, to say to your child, I missed it. Mm-hmm. I that was wrong. And I'm just simply saying part of why we're even having these conversations is to encourage people to do the right thing and do that in the name of, and when you are in a place where you are trying to unpack and heal so that you can grow healthier as a family unit, as individuals and as a family unit. Right. That's my point to what I'm saying.
But you have to be, in my personal opinion, how I feel and how I process, observe, think, whatever. Overcompensating because of guilt will destroy your child.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying that's right.
Listen.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Being there for your children as much as you possibly can in their adult years will destroy your child. In my personal opinion. You're
misinterpreting what I'm saying when I say being there.
I'm not saying in the aspect of monetary things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying pushing.
When I say being there, I mean this.
emotionally.
Yes, I mean, getting to the root of conversations,
getting to the root of
helping.
Conversations that you're not ready for the response as your child is an adult will destroy your child. Because if you want to sit and peel back an onion, the onion start getting a little too juicy. Now you don't want to have the conversation. That more or less the child will be like, yeah, it is what it is. We ain't even gonna talk about it no more.
Well, then if that's I'm not saying to force it. I don't know what I don't know what you're over there thinking. I'm not saying to force it. I'm talking about in situations like this when you are and again, this kicked off because of the example is him and Jaylen, which Jaylen has specifically asked and wanted answers and wanted both me and your dad to acknowledge what he felt as a child as far as him being treated differently.
Okay, good. Having a conversation. I'll be Jaylen. Having a conversation with me as Jaylen. Then you start saying, oh, well, I did this because of this. And then he's like, yeah, but honestly, this is what I felt, this is what I saw. And you're like, well, no, that's not what it is. That requires me to feel like, okay, you still just think that I'm just pulling stuff out of my behind.
Yeah, but that's not how it went. You know, originally,
I don't know how it went.
I know that.
So look, look.
The point is one, you have to deal with yourself first and foremost. Each individual person,
right.
each member in a family unit must put the mirror in front of their own face first. And this is another reason for me, you know, where faith comes in, because it is not easy to do that with or without faith, right? But being able to go, okay, God, show me the root of like what was really going on. Where did that come from? Why did I behave like that? For me, I can't speak about anybody else or on behalf of anybody else. The Holy Spirit, God has revealed to me, this was that. You was wrong. You was hurting from this, and this is why you did that. And it's not always black and white, but it's not pretty. It doesn't feel good. It's embarrassing. It hurts. It's painful. And then particularly when you sitting up here with 50 and you realize that you still got traces of roots of bad, unhealthy behaviors that you got to manage each and every single day.
So then you go through those conversations with yourself, and you got a mama like Nana.
Then what do you do? You deal with yourself and Jesus each and every day. And you accept it for what it is. And I have had to make peace that I can't change anything I've done. I can only make changes and make different choices going forward. I cannot change anybody else. I can't change my mama. I couldn't change my daddy. I can't change my husband. I can't change my kids. I can parent. I can do better. I can back off of enabling. I can stop guilty parenting. I can say no when I really want to say yes because I still feel guilty because, man, I missed it for X number of years and I really want to make up for it, but I know it's not healthy, so I got to say no. No, I'm not doing that.
Something that you parents, y'all generation. What is it, the 70s and 80s?
Slow up, player, slow up.
Y'all have to understand that your kids that were born in the 90s are built different.
You are.
Y'all have to understand that your kids that are born in the 90s grew up with you. You have to understand that your kids that were born in the 90s love you no matter what.
Well, and it's...
And I feel like a lot of y'all, from what I've observed, me personally thinking, I feel like a lot of you guys overwork yourselves, down yourselves a lot, and in a sense make yourselves feel as though you're not worthy or good enough for the praise of, oh, you're a good parent. Does that make sense? Because of all the things that you've experienced?
It does. And I know we have to land the plane shortly here, and I just want to peel this onion. You have to understand in the era that we grew up in, and I can speak specifically for Mom and I because we've talked about this. We had a heated discussion about this one day in the driveway at Buckhorn. We could see you guys in the window. You guys had your faces pressed against the window. We had just came home. Don't know where we was coming from. Don't know what we were about to do. We were sitting there, hadn't pulled into the garage. And I had a realization that the reason, like you said, you guys are programmed differently. We were born where we had to make it. You guys were born out already. You didn't have to struggle like we struggled. There was no safety net for your mom or I. When we hit the ground, when I left home June 7th, 1989, I was it. There was no net. My mom, and I appreciate everything my mom has ever done for me, but she did the best that she could with what she had. I couldn't go back. I couldn't call my mom and be like, hey, let me get a stack. I couldn't call my mom and say, can you co-sign for a car? I couldn't call my mom and she could help furnish my apartment. And I think the same for mom. There was nobody to call, nobody to get anything from. The only thing my dad gave me was a Schwinn bicycle. And after that, some sound advice. But that was that was years down the road. Yeah. And so for us as the parents that, were born in the 70s, yes, we may have swung the pendulum a bit too far right or too far left,
depending upon your background.
Depending upon your background.
Not everybody.
But the reason we were swinging the pendulum, the reason we were pressing, the reason that we were pouring and the cup was full and we just kept pouring is because we knew, or we thought we knew, we think we know, that we needed to make certain that you guys were prepared to do better than we did.
Right.
And so
I think, but that's the thing that I'm saying. I feel like y'all have to understand that we are appreciative. Even if we've had our quarrels, qualms, whatever, we're appreciative. We acknowledge it. And unfortunately, in the age that we grew up, technology started to become a thing. So now we looking at our parents from the lens of what other people parents is doing that ain't even really doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's so many things played in a part. But we, from my personal experience in my household with my family, we enjoy y'all. We're thankful. Like when we go out and be around people, family, and they come and see our family and they're like, dang, y'all really like that. It's a good feeling to know like, dang, like we really got people that love and care about us. We really got people that we can call. Maybe that's why we is a little stingy with who we let have access to our parents. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, if y'all don't understand nothing else, y'all got to understand your kids value you. They respect you. They appreciate you, even though you've experienced what you've experienced, even though you didn't grow up with the safety net, even though you didn't grow up with the best relationship with your parents or what may have you. It sets an example and a precedent for us to be better and do better. And that's probably why we may beat ourselves up so much, because we see the example and it's like, dang, like, what is happening? How do we get there? And then we got y'all telling us like, well, you got to do this. And it's like, but you don't understand, because when y'all bought a house, it was $139,000. And when we buy a house, it got to be like $500,000. And the minimum wage is still $7.25. What in the world? And y'all telling us we not working hard enough. So that's a whole nother podcast episode for a whole nother time.
That's a good point. But
it's just like, we value you guys. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. So I'm going to land this plane. What advice would you give to other men who grew up without their father and are now facing the complexities of raising a blended family?
That's a good question, and I have a very quick answer, and that is to find a mentor. That is to find somebody that you can trust, that can hold water, that can help you navigate the tumultuous rapids of being a father without a father. Mine was, because I didn't have my relationship with Willie was still on pause at this time, and my relationship with my dad was still getting built. Dad Walton came along, and he showed me so much. He would just show up at my office in the middle of the day like, come here, boy, let's take lunch. I'm like, bro, I can't just, he's like, yes, you can. Come on. And he would just take me outside. He told me one time, he said, never discipline your children in anger. Just little stuff. He would just drop off to me that helped me. That helped me.
The only time you ain't never disciplined me in anger was the time you gave me a choice, and I'll never forget that.
We ain't talking about
You
that.
gave me a choice.
We are not talking about that.
Whooping or tree. And I knew you wasn't mad because you took me outside and you gave me a basketball and we shooting around. He was like, all right. After like 10 minutes, whooping a tree. I'm like, dang, what's tree? What is that? Thinking a switch? Okay, that won't be that bad.
Anyway, she got tied to a tree for like 10 minutes.
Like,
It wasn't 10 minutes. You can ask Eric, Dom, and
was
Jaylen.
not
You can
even
ask
10
Eric, Dom,
It was
and
not.
Jaylen.
and listen,
were
we
there.
did not.
We had-
They have backed me in this story.
We had-
You came upstairs. You sat down and read the newspaper in front of me.
I did
They were
not.
standing at the window
Oh
in
my
the
God.
kitchen.
Okay, so
and they
wait.
were-
So wait. We're landing this plane.
We're landing it.
Oh my
We
God.
better land it now.
Oh my God.
Not now, but right now.
Why?
So to continue to answer your question, find somebody that you can trust. Find somebody that is an example, but remember, everyone is not perfect.
Where do you find? Where do you find? If you're not someone that go to church, where do you find?
You have churches, you have people that are in, and
You can get a professional counselor.
Well, but
as a mentor.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yes.
watch this, watch this, watch this.
As far as accountability,
I'm gonna
see
show
what
you
I'm saying?
something.
Help you peel and back and unpack.
let me show you something. I have recognized about both of us that we have, for you on the woman side, you gravitate to strong women to help you figure out how to be a good woman. I gravitate to strong men because I didn't have that father figure that was there. And so I've found out through over the years that some of the cats that I've gravitated to weren't who they said they were. And so what I would say is if you gravitate to somebody, when they show you who they are, believe them. Go and get that person that is as solid as they can possibly be, because nobody is perfect. But when you find that one that's 98% or 89%, that'll show you and keep you accountable no matter what. They'll tell you when you're wrong. They'll tell you when you're right. And they'll tell you when you're on the bubble. And they'll tell you when you have totally missed it altogether. That's what I would recommend. And without somebody like that, I won't say that you cannot become and you can't be.
It's more challenging.
It's
It's
in my
more
opinion,
challenging.
it's more challenging.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. What else you got?
Do you have anything else? No, that was my last question.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I know that again, being people of faith for us, that
We always say go to
grateful.
church.
Well,
Yeah.
well, no, I don't. It's not go to church.
The
That's not
Lord
what I'm
I mean,
saying.
you find most
No,
of the
so-
people
so,
in like
I mean,
a realm
I
of.
I know, but I'm saying I don't want. Listen, church is the building, and for people that know the Lord, if you know Jesus and He's in your heart,
Relationship over religion.
it's relationship over religion all day, every day. Should you find a church home where you are being fed the Word of God so that you can grow spiritually and mature spiritually, 100% bona fide, absolutely, absolutely. We would not be who we are had we not been in different seasons. We have had, when we were in different places, belonged to different bodies of Christ to get fed what we needed to be fed so that we could grow and mature from a spiritual perspective, which helped us also heal and helped us take a step back. And yes, that's where we found, my sister is my spiritual mom first and foremost. I was introduced to Christ really through her.
But she's still mad about
Right.
that car.
And so, but I have met other phenomenal women of God, who, again, in different seasons,